So let us continue. So today's session. So I think we are here to discuss about the Cognos demo, right? So the Cognos. So as I told, oh, one second. Sorry. Open meeting mobile. Okay. So the Cognos is a just like here reporting tool. It's a BA tool. Generally, BA stands for business intelligence, or you can also call it as a reporting tool. So if you, I mean, before going to understand what exactly the Cognos or BA tools or reporting tools going to be used in the environment, so we need to have a understanding about a warehouse. So before here trying to understand the Cognos BI, so we need to have some understanding about the data warehouse. Again, before going to the data warehouse, okay, so we need to start our understanding from OLTP. There is something called OLTP. So generally OLTP stands for online transactional process. Okay. So if I want to understand where exactly the Cognos tool is going to be used in the real-time environment, so you need to understand something called data warehouse system, because the tools, the Cognos or reporting tools are used on top of the data warehouse. Again, if you want to understand what do you mean by data warehouse system, so you need to start your understanding from OLTP applications. So generally OLTP in the environments, the OLTP means online transaction process. Now let us try to understand what is online transaction process. I can't hear you. Okay. So let us try to understand what is OLTP. So OLTP is stands for online transaction process. So now in the real-time environment, so in our day-to-day environment, so we have a lot of here businesses available. So those business can be classified into different domains. So what are the different domains available in the market if you want to understand? So we have something called the pharma domain. Okay, so maybe the retail domain, so healthcare domain, banking domain, okay, insurance domain, telecom domain. So like this, we have a lot of whatever the business in our day-to-day environment we are going to encounter. So those business can be classified into different domains, and these are the different domains available in the current market. So now the people in these domains, in order to automate their day-to-day processes, so what they are trying to do, they are trying to use some kind of software. Okay, some kind of software. So that software was developed by using some programming technologies like .NET. Okay, so VB, Java. Okay, so ASP, JavaScript. Like this, we have so many programming technologies are available. So by using these programming technologies, the software developers used to create a lot of applications. Those applications are used to run their day-to-day operations of their company. Maybe for example, if to give you some kind of an introduction, so how this particular OLTP looks like, if it is a supermarket, for example, assume we have one supermarket called DMart. So the owner of this DMart, definitely in order to automate their business, what they are trying to do, so they are trying to just use one software. So in that the software can be designed by using one of the programming technology. Assume we have a one user interface, like maybe the which product you are buying. So the software developer trying to create some user interface like this. So which product you are buying. So what is the how many pieces of here this product we are selling. So at what price you are selling. Okay, so is there any discount you are offering. So to capture the day-to-day transactions of your business, we are going to design, the software developers design this kind of here user interface, so that the data entered on this user interface screen can be just here stored into, so whatever the data entered on that user interface screen can be stored into one database. Again, this database here can be called as a, in the technical terms we are called as a OLTP database. But this database can be any one of the databases available in the markets. In the market, we have a lot of databases like Microsoft SQL Server database. So you can have Oracle database, DB2, Teradata. Okay, so Netija. Like this, we have several databases available in the market. I can take any one of the database to store the day-to-day transactions of your business. So maybe after entering the data, maybe to operate this business, I may have one simple person like maybe the sales clerk. So this sales clerk is going to operate the system. Then finally, once the data is entered, he's going to click on OK or save button like this. Once he click on save or OK button, the data captured on this particular screen is like we are going to store into this database. So this database can be any one of the database available in the market. So this is how like the businesses in our day-to-day environment can be automated. So this entire process we may call it as a OLTP applications. Now, if I have this kind of OLTP application is running in my organization, then why should I look for this data warehouse or like this kind of reporting tool? So if you want to have that kind of understand again, what we need to do is, so as a like here, the owner of this company, okay, definitely this entire business is closely monitoring or running by some users. So that user can be the top level manager or like the owner of this company, for example, or maybe CEO of the company, or maybe like your manager of the company, like this. So this entire business is closely monitored by one manager or like maybe the owner of this company. So he's having like one requirement in his mind. What is that requirement? So how can I improve the current state of my business from current state to the next state? So he's having some kind of requirement saying that maybe the currently, if I'm getting like here 15% of the revenue, whatever the investment I made, so out of that, so he's getting 15% of the revenue. How can I improve the business from 15% to 25% in the next quarter, maybe Q2? So this like here next couple of quarters, how can I improve the revenue from 15 current state to the next state called 25%? That is like here his requirement. So whatever the business like he's running, his like his job is how can I improve the business from current state to the next state. So that is the requirement he's having. So any questions here? So so this is the like here this job. So in order to improve the current state of the business from the 15% to 25%, so definitely he need to take some kind of actions. Okay. So in order to take an actions to improve the performance of the organization, you need to have a lot of information. You need to have a lot of information. So that information can be what kind of information he may be required to take decisions. Maybe what all the different products like here we are selling, different products we are selling in the company, in the organization. Products like here, different products selling in the organization. So that can be like here one information. Maybe what are all the products not at all selling. Okay, so from last 6 months, that can be like here one kind of information you may look for. So maybe what is the overall like revenue of the organization. So what is the revenue by country? Okay, so revenue by country. So this kind of like information he may look. So based on this information, okay, available, he can analyze and try to take a one decision. So that decision is going to helping him to provide to improve the overall performance of his organization. So generally in the business terminology, this information we may also call it as a reports. So he wants to have a reports, like information of the reports about his organization, his business. Now, if I want to have like as a owner of this company, if I want to have this kind of like here information, what he's looking for, so what he needs to do, he's supposed to. There are a lot of like data transactions are like stored in this database. So to get like whatever the information like he's looking for, somehow he needs to extract the data. Okay, so if I want to extract the data from the database, since like the data in the database is stored in the form of tables, so what we need to do is we need to write a lot of SQL statements to retrieve the data which is stored in a database tables. you are expected to write a lot of SQL statement. Okay, so that like the data can be, the information can be retrieved. So whatever the information like it is retrieved from the SQL statement, maybe to the managers. Okay, so to the managers, so I need to like provide in the form of maybe the graphical representation like pie chart, maybe bar chart. Okay, so column chart, line chart, or maybe the tabular format. So the data, raw data available in this particular database, I need to extract somehow with the help of SQL statement, then represent into the useful information. So this information, this process like here we are called as a BA, business intelligence general. Now, if I want to do this kind of like an activity, since like as a manager, he's not definitely technical person, he cannot do these kind of like here activities by himself. So now what he is going to do is he is going to recruit a one more person. Okay, so one person to perform all these activities. So that person we may call it as a SQL developer. So as a manager, like here, I need to recruit one SQL developer to perform these kind of activities called writing an SQL statement that extract the data, you may need to display in the useful information, maybe in the form of charts, graphical representation. Now, if I want to perform this one, then definitely what I need to do, I need to recruit a person who is very good at writing SQL statement on top of underlying source database. So for example, if I have my underlying source database is a Neteja, assume like here, this customer is trying to implement the Neteja database as a OLTP database, so that like day-to-day transactions are stored in a Neteja database. So now what kind of SQL developer I need to recruit? So I need to recruit SQL developer who is very good at writing an SQL statement on top of Neteja database. Okay, or else like if my underlying source database MySQL, I need to recruit a SQL developer who is very good writing an SQL statement on top of MySQL. So this is the requirement like he is having. So if he wants to recruit like here that person as a top level manager, if I want to recruit a good SQL developer who is very good at writing Neteja, how many people available in the market who is like here very good writing an SQL statements on top of Neteja? So definitely, so that is like here one of the rare skill available in the market. So that means, so he's going to like the business manager. Okay, if I want to recruit like one good SQL developer who is writing an SQL statements like on top of the underlying source database, so availability is like here one of the biggest challenge. So that means he's facing like one challenge called availability of the skilled SQL developer in the market is like one of the biggest challenge I'm going to face. Okay, so even if he's like here hunting the entire market, assume like here I found one good SQL developer who is writing an SQL statement on top of Neteja. So since like here this kind of databases or this kind of businesses like here spread across all over the different domains. So the demand is like here more, but like here availability of the skilled SQL developer in the market is less. So that means so he is going to be a expensive. He's going to demand like here more package for me. He's going to be expensive resource because like here availability of the skilled SQL developer in the market is very less, but the demand from the different like here domains are like here more. So demand and supply and demand. So definitely he's demanding like more package. Okay, even this person is like ready to pay whatever the package this SQL developer is like here requesting or demanding. So then definitely in order to generate like this information, maybe like here he wants to have a so top 10 revenue generated products. He wants to see so top 10 revenue generated products. Like he wants to have this kind of information. So if you ask like here this information just now, since like here this expensive developer or SQL developer needs to write a query manually and like represent the data in the useful like here format, then he is going to take a longer time, maybe like here 1 week, 10 days or 2 weeks, because manually you need to write a lot of program and like here that retrieve data may be display in the form of this one. So it is going to be a longer delivery time. So that is like a problem we are going to face, longer like delivery time. Okay, so even like here this person is waited for like so much of time, maybe like 2 weeks time. If I ask like one information now, so he is like giving me after like 2 weeks time only, so he is providing that information. Even this person is like waited for 2 weeks, whether like I'm not sure whether this person is going to give me, the SQL developer is going to give me accurate information or not. Why? Because manually like writing lot of SQL statement, that SQL statement may contain lot of defects also. So that means, okay, so whatever the report he is going to give it to the top level manager, it may contain something called like here inaccurate information. So that means accuracy of the information, okay, giving to maybe the manager is also doubt, because like he's not confident, because like here since he is manual writing lot of SQL statement, so it may contains lot of bugs. So like this, so if I want to recruit a person called SQL developer, so these kind of like here people called managers are facing these kind of like challenges. Okay, so what are the challenges? These are the couple of challenges facing, right? So to address like all these challenges, some companies came up with some tools. So those tools we are calling it as a reporting tools, or like here BI tools, or you may also call it as a reporting tools. Okay, so there are a lot of companies came up with like different tools. What are the different tools available in the market to support this to address like all the challenges faced by my business user? So if you want to understand that, so Cognos is one of the reporting tool available in the market. So in addition to the Cognos, we are also having, okay, a lot of like other tools like business objects from the SAP company. So maybe the Cognos is a tool coming from IBM. Okay, so business object is a reporting tool coming from like an SAP company. So from the micro strategy, like we have one more tool called micro strategy is like here one more tool. So from the Microsoft we have MSBI. So we have MSBI is like here one tool available from the Microsoft. Okay, so we have like some other tools like the ClickQ. ClickQ is also one of the tool, okay, available from the ClickQ organization. Okay, so we have a Tableau is like one more tool from the same Tableau company. Okay, so like this we have a several tools exist. Maybe like from the TIPCO company we have Spotfire from the TIPCO company. So like this we have a several tools exist in the market to support his like here problems. So what he is facing like this. Okay, so now that's why these like here the Cognos are like reporting tools are getting popular like this. Okay, so now let us try to understand so how these like tools are going to helping the business user. So whatever the challenges like you are facing here, so how the tools are helping. For example, so this particular manager, instead of like here recruiting the Cognos developer or maybe SQL developer, maybe I can buy, this person can buy, okay, so one tool and like try to implement in their organization. So this Cognos, what for that matter, like whatever the tools like I mentioned here, whatever the tools like we mentioned here, so those tools are like helping to address like all the issues like faced by the top level manager. Now, if you see here how these Cognos are going to work, Cognos tool is capable of connecting to any kind of the database available. So it is like it supports to connect any like kind of data sources available. So maybe it can easily can be connected to the Microsoft SQL Server database, Oracle, Teradata, DB2, Nanadeja, MySQL. You name the database available in the market. So the Cognos tool simply can connect to the database and like try to generate an SQL statements automatically. So you need not like manually write a single SQL statement. Okay, and those SQL statement automatically like going to hit on the database. I mean like when you try to run that report, so the tool is going to generate an SQL statement automatically and execute that SQL statement on top of underlying source database and get the data, and retrieve data can also be represented in the well like here visualization format, that is like here bar chart, pie chart, okay, column chart. Like this we have a so many different types of charts. So that's why whatever the problems like we faced by this manager, so these tools are like helping me to address like all of them. Okay, so now that's why these tools are getting popular. Now like here we have one more issue. So one more like here thing called data warehouse. We discussed that. So the data warehouse database is available. Okay, so why do we need to keep maintaining data warehouse? That is the next question. Because generally, like all these tools are used, okay, to generate the reports based on the data warehouse database. So right now, without using the data warehouse, also this person can able to generate lot of reports in the automated way. But like if you directly generate the reports based on the OLTP database, so again, like this person is facing some challenges. So what are the different challenges like he is facing if you want to understand? Assume this OLTP database. The OLTP database like here is, I mean, any database for that matter, it is going to like here use to store the data. Where exactly the data is going to store? Definitely in the form of like tables. But in case of OLTP database, those tables were designed by using one technique called normalization. Okay, so there is like one technique called normalization. So whatever the OLTP database like here we are having in the organizations, okay, the OLTP database was designed by using like normalization. Yeah.
Srinivas, can you repeat once again the normalization?
So
can you repeat this one?
Yeah, so I'm coming to that one. Like here, the data, the database tables in the OLTP database, okay, are like here going to define based on like normalization. So I'm coming to the normalization. What do you mean by normalization?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So like if you want to understand what do you mean by normalization, so basically assume like here in this case, let me just open. So assume like here in case of this particular company, okay, so he is trying to sell the product. Okay, so to maintain the list of products like what we are selling, to maintain the list of products what you are selling, so that is like here going to stored in one table called product table. Okay, these are the list of products like we are selling, so that's why all the products available in this company, they are maintaining one table. So now in the real-time environment, so whatever the products like we are selling, so all the products can be logically grouped together. So to maintain the what all the different like here products that are logically grouped together, so that can also be maintained in a separate table like this. Maybe this table can be product type table. So for example, all these are electronics equipment. So some of the products like this products can be like here logically grouped together as a mobile. Okay, so some products like logically grouped together televisions. Some products like you can logically group together as a refrigerators and washing machine like this. Okay, again, all these linear products are again largely grouped together into one line of business. Maybe that one can be called as a like this, for example, product line. Okay, so this is the another kind of thing. So the data related to one subject area called product is like trying to maintain in a three different tables: product table, product type table, product line table. If you maintain the data in this fashion, generally we are called as normalization. So again, the same information we can also maintain in a single table like this also. Okay, so here the same information, whatever the information I just like here maintained here, the same information we can also maintain a single table like this also. So these are the list of products what you are selling. All these products are largely grouped together into different product types. All the product types are largely again grouped together into electronics equipment. So we need to understand like what is the difference between maintaining the data in this fashion and maintaining the data in this fashion. So if you maintain all the information in a single table, I'm trying to like here get, so for example, assume in a supermarket, if I'm trying to sell 1,000 products, okay, all 1,000 products are related to electronics equipment. So if you maintain a single table, electronics equipment is going to repeat 1,000 times. So that means certain amount of data is like here repeating several times. Similarly, out of 1,000, so 100 products are related to mobiles. Mobile is repeating 100 times. So certain amount of data is like repeating. So this kind of repetition of like the data, generally we are called as a denormalized. The redundancy, like the data redundancy is available. So this kind of data like here maintain the data in the form of like here repetition or redundancy. So we are called as a denormalization. Whereas like if you try to maintain the same information in the form of like here multiple tables like this, the data is not repeated. So for example, if you see only ultras equipment is like here repeated only once. Maybe mobile is like here repeated only once, like this. So there like here there is no redundancy. Okay, so if you take any kind of database, the data can be maintained in the form of normalization. So when I say normalization, it can be maintained in multiple tables like this, or like here we can also maintain the in a single table where the data is duplicated. So this format what we are calling as a denormalized storage of data. So now in case of like here OLTP database, so we know that OLTP database for what? To run my business in the automated way. So basically when you try to like here insert the records, so the the insert statement should be very fast. Why? Because for example, if you are trying to provide a like here some online order, for instance, okay, maybe assume like this is a online through online like you are trying to order. So if you try to like order one product, so definitely when you provide all the information and click OK, so that insert statement should be very fast. So no customer is like here willing to wait after 5 minutes, right? So if the transaction is like takes 5 minutes, so no one is like here going to use your site at all. So the transaction like whatever you are using, that should be like very fast. So if I want to like fast the transaction, so it is always expected to maintain the records like in the form of normalization. Why? Because for example, okay, so if you maintain the data in this fashion like here, or if you maintain the data in this fashion, like which one is faster means, if you see, assume like here tomorrow in your company, in this company, if they introduce like here one product, so maybe that product information, maybe I need to update like in all these 6 columns. Maybe like I want to update like in all these 6 columns. Okay, so maybe if you maintain the same information here also, so you are expected to maintain only these 3 columns. Okay, so definitely insert statements are very fast if you maintain the data in the form of normalization tables. Okay, that is like here one of the requirement. That's why the data modelers who are responsible to design the database, okay, going to follow the normalization techniques to design the database tables. Okay, so in case of like here OLTP applications. Is that clear? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so now let us try to like if you try to based on if you assume like these are the some kind of normalized tables available in the data warehouse. In addition to that, so you may also have a some kind of like here basically one more like here requirement here is in case of like here OLTP, okay, the data we are going to store, the data can be classified into, so what the database is used to store the data. So the data like here in the databases can be, OLTP database can be divided into master data and also like here transaction data. There are two types of like here data available. Okay, so master data means the data which is not going to change day by day. So maybe whatever the list of products like we are selling in a supermarket, that product names, the product codes or product names are not going to change day by day. So that kind of like data generally we are calling as a master data. Whereas like here transactional data means, what do you mean by transactional data? That data which is going to change day by day, minute to minute, second to second. Meaning that there may be a lot of customers are visiting to the supermarket, they are trying to make transactions. So the transactions are like keep on like here storing it here. So that's why this is like here transaction table. Maybe the name of the transaction table can be sales order, for example. So if you have like these kind of like a set of tables, so based on these set of tables, if this customer is trying to generate a report by using maybe the tool or maybe manually you are writing, then definitely you are facing like one challenge. What is that challenge? Performance challenges. So let me show you what is the performance challenge like he is going to face. Okay, assume like this manager who is running this business is expecting like here some kind of report called what is the total revenue by product. So this is like a very simple, okay, the report like he is expecting. So he wants to have like what maybe, so what is the total revenue like here generated for each and every product what he is like selling in the organization. So if I want to have this kind of like data report to be present, to report to be submit to this person, then what he need to do? So revenue, maybe like here revenue column is available in this table called revenue. So the quantity multiplied by revenue. So these two columns like multiplied by revenue. So this column can be like here generated, for instance, this way. So now if I want to have a this kind of report, what I need to do? I need to bring like a column from this table. The product description is available in this table, so the column from this table. So that means somehow I need to join these two tables together. The sales order transaction table and the product master data table needs to be joined together. That means you need to write an SQL statement with these two tables joining, then so that this kind of like a report can be created. Maybe as a by the tool, or maybe okay, so the tool, or maybe by SQL developer, in order to get this kind of like a report called the total revenue by product. So he is expected to like here provide this kind of SQL statement. Okay, so this is the SQL statement like you may need to write. Select select like here product name from the product table, and maybe the quantity multiplied by price as a revenue from like here from both the tables, so that this kind of SQL statement you may need to write by the tool, or maybe if not the tool, by manual also you are expected to write this SQL statement to get like this kind of information. So maybe after submitting this information to this top level manager, he may also ask you one more information saying that, can you also get me what is the total revenue generated by product type? Because like he wants to understand, so which product type is like here more profitable business, okay, generating for this particular organization. Okay, so now if I want to have that one, what we need to do? So maybe like the customer is asking what is the total, okay, so revenue or like sales by product type. So this kind of report like he is expecting to generate. So now like here this report is having some information like, so what is the revenue now this time, so what is the product type. So if I want to have this kind of like report to be generated, what he needs to do? So he needs to bring like some columns from this table called product type column. Okay, some revenue column like coming from the sales. So somehow I need to join the product type table and sales order table. So in any SQL statement, if you want to join multiple tables together, we should have some common column. Right now, if you see the product type table and sales order table, we don't have any column. So here in the product type table, we have a product type code as a primary key, but in the sales order table, we don't sales order transaction table, we don't have primary key. Okay, foreign care also. So now to generate like this kind of report, somehow I need to join these two, but like there is no common column. But like how it is going to be done? So now what I can do is, so this sales order table and the product table can be joined together based on this common column, and this product table and product type table can be joined together based on some common column. So somehow these three tables needs to be joined together to get like this kind of information called, so the total sales by product type. Okay, so that means you are expected to write a this kind of like SQL statement here. So what is the product type name, comma, quantity multiplied by price as a revenue from product type table, sales order table, product table, and by having condition like this. Okay, so maybe if you just like submit this report to the top level manager, okay, so who is like trying to analyze his business, immediately he may also ask you, can you also bring me some information about, so what is the total sales or revenue generated by line of business, product line. So he wanted to understand which line of business is more profitable to that company. Is it grocery business, or maybe cloths, or maybe electronics equipment? He wanted to understand that kind of information. So now he's asking like here one more information like, what is the total revenue by product line. This kind of information like he is expecting. So maybe this information like here he wants to generate. So what is the revenue by product line? So that kind of like information. Now again, if I want to bring that information, some columns from this product table and the revenue column from this table. So you need to join these two tables, but there is no join condition. There is no common column between these two tables. So how that can be done again? So this table and this table can be joined together on the primary key and foreign key. This product table and product type table can be joined together based on these two common columns. Again, product type and product line can be joined together based on these common columns. So total these four tables needs to be joined together to get a information called total revenue by product. So that means is expected to like here generate, is expected to create like here use this SQL statement. So now if you see what is the difference between this SQL statement to this SQL statement, it may contains like more number of here like no single giant, here like no two giants, here three giants. So the difference between this SQL statement and this SQL statement is it contains more number of giants. So if you're trying to generate a report based on the normalized tables, what I'm getting, I'm having an SQL statement with more number of giants. Generally, any SQL statement contains more number of giant statements. So the query execution on top of the underlying source database is going to take longer time. So that means, so from the OLTP database, if he's trying to generate a reports like the performance, like because the query execution takes longer time. Why? Because it contains like more number of giants, and so to get that kind of like information, so whatever the information he's looking for, it may take longer time. That is like one of the performance issue this person is like facing. So that is like here this person is like facing what issue. So performance is like one of the biggest challenge, because like here we are trying to support the top level manager in a company. So generally the managers in a company are like here highly demanding people. So if he's like asking one information, maybe because of like here the query execution takes longer time, after half an hour or maybe 1 hour or 2 hours time only, he's going to get what he's looking for. So the performance is like here one of the biggest challenge like this person is facing. When, so if you directly generate reports based on the OLTP. So why we are getting the performance issue? Because like this, we are trying to generate reports based on the normalized tables. So in the OLTP database, like it is expected to maintain the normalized tables only to record the day-to-day transactions of your organization. Okay, that is like one challenge. So one more challenge here is, so in case of OLTP database, you are always going to maintain the latest information. So we are not going to maintain the historical information at all. And like he is having some information, how is this particular business is growing from last 5 years? That kind of like report requirement also he may have. As a top level manager, so what he need is how is this business is growing from last 5 years or 10 years. So he wants to see so growth, organization growth. So how the business is like here growing from last 10 years or 5 years like this. You can he is expecting some kind of information. So if I want to have this kind of information, definitely we need to have historical data. But in case of OLTP, you are always recommended to maintain the latest information. Why? Because historical information, if you are keep on maintaining from last 10 years or 5 years data, if you keep on maintaining, the size of the OLTP database is going to grow fast. Okay, the size of the database is huge. Then these data transactions are like takes longer time to insert a database where like it is having historical information. So that's why OLTP database is always going to maintain as a the latest information. Like periodically, these people are right, the DBS are going to take the backups of this database. But like here, so if you are generating the reports like with the latest information, you may not support this kind of like the requirement. Okay, so to address like all these kind of challenges, so what we are trying to do is, so the IT people, so to support like his requirement, his challenges, so these people like here came up with one more like here database called data warehouse database. Okay, so there is like here one more database called data warehouse database. So in case of data warehouse database, okay, so why we need to maintain the database means like I need to address the performance issue. So how the performance can be addressed? So somehow I need to reduce the number of giant statements in my SQL statement. So if I want to reduce the number of giant statements, I need to reduce the number of like tables to be maintained. So how the number of tables can be maintained? Instead of maintaining a multiple table like this, I can maintain the table like this in the form of like here a single table in the form of denormalized. Okay, if you maintain this kind of table and also this kind of like the table called sales order transaction table here, so in this like here database, okay, so this kind of like database, so what I can do, the sales order and product dimension, so only two tables are available. If I want to have this kind of information, join these two tables. So if I want to have the total, what is the total revenue by product type, join these two tables. So what is the total revenue product type? So only these two tables only needs to be joined together So to get the required information. Since the less number of join statements are available, the query execution is like very, very fast, and then the response is like for the performance is addressed. And one more thing here is, so in case of data warehouse, you are also expected to maintain the historical information. So periodically you need to, okay, so just like here append the data, whatever the data added here, that same data you need to append day by day. So over a period of time, the historical data is also going to be maintained. So that's how whatever the problems like he is facing, so that problems can be addressed by just simply maintaining like one more database called data warehouse database. Again, this data warehouse database can be any of the databases available in the market. I can use any of the databases like that can be, for example, Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle or DB2 or Teradata, maybe Sybase. There are a lot of like databases are available. I can use any one of the database to act as a data warehouse database. Okay, so now, so based on this data warehouse, the data available in the data warehouse database, now I can use like here one of the reporting tool to generate the reports. Now like here he is happy because like here he is getting the reports, whatever the report he is like requesting with the faster performance, and also so historical information also he can able to get a lot of reports. So that's why the data warehouse come into picture. Okay, any questions here so far? Okay, so now we know that the data into the OLTP database is getting populated by using like this kind of user interface screens. Now like here, whatever the data available in the OLTP database, the same data I may need to store into the data warehouse database. So here we have some sales people who are going to populate the data into this one, but who is going to populate the data into the data warehouse? The same, whatever the data available here, I may need to populate here into the data warehouse, but in the form of like here denormalized fashion. So who is going to populate that one? So definitely to transfer the data from here to here, you need to like perform some activity. So that activity generally what we are calling as a ETL. ETL. So ETL stands for extract the data, T stands for like to transfer the data, L stands for load the data. So extract means like you may need to write a lot of SQL statements. I need to read the data from like all these tables. That means again extract means you need to write a SQL statement. Transform means maybe I need to like merge all these like here tables into single table. So that means you may need to apply some kind of transformations to merge the data into okay multiple tables data into single table. And load means like here I need to insert the records into the target database okay table. So this kind of like here again here also it involves lot of like here SQL statement. Here maybe read, here it may be transform, apply some functions, then insert. Okay, so you again like need to perform all these activities. You are expected to okay depend on the SQL developer. Again, if you depend on the SQL developer, similar kind of like challenges. So to address like all the challenges, again some companies came up with like some tools. Those tools like what we are calling as a ETL tools. Okay, extract the data. ETL means extract the data, transform the data, load the data, right? So ETL tools. So what are the different tools available in the market to perform this activity? So we have something called data stages like one ETL tool. Okay, so Informatica is one ETL tool. So we have IBM Cognos, IBM Data Manager is like Cognos Data Manager is like one tool available. Cognos Data Manager is like here one tool. So we have Ab initio is like here one tool. So like this, we have a couple of like here popular ETL tool exist in the market to support. Okay, so to transfer the data. So this tools like maybe I can use the data stages an ETL tool for example. Okay, so again these tools like here capable of connecting to any kind of like source system and transfer the data into any kind of system. So that's the ETL tool picture. Any question? Okay. So now, so any organization, this is like here company. Yeah.
Srinivas,
Yeah.
Srinivas,
Yeah.
in this class, are we learning?
Okay. So that's how this like here again like if you see this kind of like business is already available. Okay. So this business is already running in the automated way. since like here he is looking for a this kind of like information, so what we need to do, somehow we need to build the dataverse database like this, then transfer the data, and finally on top of this one he need to like generate a lot of reports. That means this environment like may not exist in an organization. Okay, so who is like having a simple this kind of business. So definitely in order to build this kind of environment, so what he need to do, so you need to execute like here one project. You need to develop like you need to give a some kind of project to some vendor, maybe TCS or Wipro or Infosys, like whatever. Okay, so that's how the data warehouse like here projects come into picture. So assume like here a company, maybe DMart company, for example, in this case, right now he don't have any reporting solution. So that's why he gave like one project to one vendor, maybe TCS or Wipro, whatever. So here we may have something called like a data warehouse project. So you know that data warehouse project is nothing but a, so we have some OLTP system. Someone has to design this kind of like a data warehouse database. So when I say design, so the tables needs to be created. Those tables are in the form of like here what is it, denormalized tables, like denormalized tables, summarized data, historical information you need to maintain. Okay, so this data to be populated from the OLTP system. So whatever the like here OLTP systems available, so the data from here to this OLTP system to here you need to operate. So to do that activity, so we are using like one of the ETL tool. So maybe that ETL tool can be data stage, IBM data stage. If it is generally, if it is a Cognos as a reporting tool means, since like here IBM Cognos product is from the IBM company, data stage is also from the IBM company. Generally like here, if it is a reporting tool, then 90% of the cases, they are also going to take the data stage as an ETL tool. Okay, so in a project, data warehouse project, definitely some couple of like the ETL developers you may find. So their job is to transfer the data from your OLTP system to this data warehouse. Okay, by using like one of the ETL tool, so these people are developing. Similarly, once like the data warehouse database is populated, some people needs to be like here generate reports. So those reports we may call it as a BA. So this kind of like here people we may call it as a report developer, the report developers. So maybe they use like here Cognos. So that's why a data warehouse process consists of the collection of different report developers and also collection of some ETL developers. So combination of both ETL developers and report developers combined together. So they are going to design a data warehouse project. Any questions here? Okay. So
We are good.
yeah. So now like here we are going to closely, I mean like here clearly discuss on what is Cognos, how this Cognos tool can be used, and what are the different functionality available. So those things like can be extensively discussed on Cognos by following like these steps. So let me show you like what are the different topics like it is going to be covered within Cognos. So maybe in this case, like today we just like had a demo. So demo followed by, so again, like one more important thing here is, so here since like you are going to interact with so many people. So even though you are working as a report developer, you may need to interact with like here since the ETL developers also there, data modeler is also there, the DBS are also there, a lot of like people involved in the project. So different people in the different teams are using some terminology. So those terminology like we are calling it as a data warehouse concepts. So definitely we are going to like spend some time to understand like what all the different terminology used in across various departments, various teams actually. ETL team, what all the different terminology they are using. So maybe the reporting team like how the different terminologies like common. So we need to understand, we need to discuss like here some topics among this person and this person. So we should speak like some common terminology. So that terminology what we are calling as a the data warehouse concepts. So then followed by history of Cognos, what are the different versions of Cognos available. Then like here we'll, if you move on to the next topic, maybe the Cognos BI, what are the different components available. So out of like one component, like we have a very important component, framework manager. Okay, so in the framework manager, we need to have a modeling, we need to design a lot of modeling. So the relationships, users, probably there are a lot of things are available. Similarly, some sample reports. So like this, there are like in total so many the topics are available that we are going to discuss in detail in subsequent sessions. Okay, so